Have you ever thought of your vision as a lens, your worldview figuratively and literally moving and shifting at your own pace? I would be lying if I said that I've always been interested in these devices, but I've recently taken a liking to cameras in the past few months. A dedicated collection of hardware encompassed into a few pieces to essentially create moments has only recently become a fascinating revelation to me, especially with the amount of accessibility we have to this technology, with smartphones and webcams slowly inching up to the quality that DSLRs have and such. Though, assuming you haven't read the title, I don't necessarily plan on exploring the hardware or even the software behind these configurations, but more so the movement and compositions these cameras capture and the different approaches I've seen across various media. Basically, I'm just looking at camera movements and compositions that I think look cool or funny. But I do wish to start off with someone a bit unorthodox, Kendrick Lamar. Okay, wait, hold on, let me explain. Kendrick Lamar is one of the only artists I've seen in recent years actively reap the benefits of his resources with incorporating new technology into his art. One of the biggest inappropriate answers would be his humble music video. Or to be more specific, this set of shots. The robotic yet smooth movement is achieved using a camera robot by the name of Bolt, I believe. This came to my attention not too long after the video was released, with MKBHD's Dope Tech episode about it. There's something weirdly mesmerizing about the controlled motion that accumulates with this camera. Its main appeal and, dare I say, purpose is to be able to take shots nearly, if not impossible, for a human to feasibly achieve, in a precise manner at least. Already used in a lot of movies and general television products, it reminds me of the motion blur panning they used for the camera in the first Bleach opening, which currently happens to be one of my favorite anime so far. It's become a tad more commonplace in music videos, with another example at the top of my head being Bia's London music video featuring J. Cole. Coincidentally, Lamar also used a GoPro camera for this planetary perspective shot in the video as well, which the outline made a whole article discussing how easy it was to replicate back in 2017. It really showcases the amount of creativity Lamar has for his craft, pulling from some of the easiest effects to create to industry standard technology not accessible to the general public. It's the resourcefulness that I believe makes his videos an event to behold witness to whenever he happens to drop. Moving on, I think split screen is also a great way not to only diversify what the viewer sees, but it also places a restriction that view can work around dynamically. Naturally, it gives more another perspective in a singular frame, but with the trade-off of less space overall. So it always interests me when videos go out of their way to make them a little more interesting. One person who used this effectively in my opinion would be Tyler, the Creator. A few of his music videos in particular between 2016 and 2018 used split screen, sometimes using wide shots and close-ups for each side. What personally intrigued me about these videos happened to be the colors he uses, more bright and saturated palettes with a generally brighter feel, in a sense contrasting with some of his dilemmic and introspective lyrics he started to push out during this time period. I really like this era of Tyler because I feel like his distinct direction really becomes fleshed out and defined here. You can kind of look back and see that ever since, there's a sense of vibrancy that accompanies each of his productions, compared to the darker and muted vibes matching his earlier discography, followed with some slow motion action and dynamic perspective. And while these two videos aren't talked about as much within retrospect of his career, I really feel like these approaches were a big step towards that videography style Tyler is known for today. I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's continue. I think JJ Doom's Governor music video is another great example of this. This video tackles combining two sets of shots together in a split screen format, constantly striving to match up as seamlessly as possible with Doom's traversing throughout the video. My favorite moment, however, is when the camera starts panning vertically in opposite directions while keeping Doom consistent with the motion, creating this captivating and entrancing sequence as Doom's bars are echoing in the track. I can't overstate just how complicated and frustrating this must have been to sync up, but the result is a beautifully simple but trippy experience. Next up, camera shakes. Oh! Camera shakes are almost always the funniest to me, due to how unintentional they can be. You know how it's commonly discussed that our generation's sense of humor is broken? For some unknown reason, what gets me on some videos is if the camera shakes violently. It usually happens when someone's falling or an object hits the camera or something like that. However, an intentional camera shake can bring about a needed energy to accompany a video's visuals. I think a good example would just be the dancing videos you see on Instagram or TikTok. It isn't needed at all. The dancing is the main focus, obviously, but making that effort to dynamically move the camera around with intention adds that tiny sense of immersion to keep you watching. I myself have even added a few shakes in my videos if you noticed, mainly to emphasize emotion or just for comedy. I say intention because with handheld, the wrong sense of direction can be frustrating and sometimes disorienting. Speaking of which, I think handheld shooting sends a subconscious message of natural artistry to the viewer. Like instead of multiple tripods and stands circling an enclosed stage, it's more like, oh wait, someone's actually filming this. There's someone behind the camera. Even if the media in question is being viewed from an objective perspective, it adds a lot of personality to what would otherwise be boring still shots. I think it's why so many cartoons and TV shows attempt to replicate this effect with smartphone footage to immerse you more into that world. However, wide and full shots seem to be what I'm most attached to. Whether it be movies or animation, a good one is enough to tell an entire story. Take for example the leap of faith from Into the Spider-Verse. Back in middle school when I first saw this shot, I immediately knew that whatever this movie was going to be about, it was going to be phenomenal. Do y'all remember when it was just known as Untitled Animated Spider-Man Film? Think of other iconic films that use these type of shots. The Kill Bill movies? There's a reason why there's a whole video game series by the name of Shadow Fight. Despite both properties using silhouettes to enhance the effect, it's the story that the action is framed upon that makes both of them iconic in their own right. The best way I can describe a good full or wide shot is not necessarily a compression, but a good summary of a certain scene happening if it doesn't represent the entire body of work. The same compositions that showcases a sense of a somber and confused state can very well capture a sense of triumph and hope. It's the variety of emotion that these types of shots convey that make me confidently declare that these are my favorites. So, while I did mention before that I don't know much about camera hardware or composition or really anything of that sort, I still feel passionate enough to talk about it. I think letting people showcase their enthusiasm for a topic should actively be encouraged and welcomed, so long as they don't pretend to know more than they do or insult others not familiar with that niche. So hopefully this video doesn't come off too disjointed. I wanted to make a shorter video because I have exams to prepare for, so please bear with me. Next video should be a longer video essay similar to the recent positive examples of black media, which by the way you should watch. But until then, that's pretty much all I have to say. Okay, bye.